What's up, rolling boners and bonettes? Hope y'all are tuning in today. We're talking about selecting and trimming a brisket. Get a lot of people ask me all the time, man, how do you know which brisket is good? How do you know which one is bad? Few easy things. On the bottom, on the flat, look for one that has fat in between the meat. This is a choice brisket, and you have three different choices of beef when you're in the store. Select, choice, and prime. Choice is the most common. That's what you're going to find in most of your barbecue restaurants. Prime, you may find that at somewhere like Killings, but more often than not, you're going to find choice. Choice is going to cost a little bit more than select, obviously. And below select, you have your commodity beef, utility beef, things that are made, for beef that they use for dog food and what have you. Stuff that you won't use. But nonetheless, chose this brisket because it has a little bit of marbling in it. But primarily, it was a consistently sized beef brisket. Right here, you got a fairly thin point, and I'm going to trim some of that off. Not too much fat on it. When you're paying for something about a pound, you want to get something with too much fat. Now, I also chose this one because I don't like too much fat on my point end. A lot of people like to leave a lot of fat. I just like to leave a little bit there because on this end of the meat, it's a different muscle and it has a lot more fat in it than the flat does. I'm gonna trim this down to about 1/8 of an inch, where I'm gonna try to leave as much of this as I can, about 1/4 of an inch, but pretty much where it's at. So, on the meat side, this one is already kind of cut where the decal is. I don't usually do that, but since it's already cut that way, I'm gonna cut that and cook it as such. This fat right here will not render out. Shave it right off. It won't melt down. All it's gonna do is add time to your cook, and it's just gonna be a big piece of hard fat. Might give it another little trim right there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, this is for a backyard barbecue. This isn't a competition where I'm looking to get it absolutely perfect. But all of this, backyard barbecue, you can leave it. Me, myself, I like to trim it off just because I'm somewhat anal like that when it comes to how it looks before I cook it. This is not gonna affect the taste or flavor whatsoever. That stuff will cook off. If you were in a competition, I don't know how many of y'all are in the competition cooking, but you would definitely cook that off because you don't know when or what bite the judge is gonna have, and they say, ooh, that's a little bit different or chewy. Gonna do more showing than talking. Another thing with briskets, when you're trimming them, you want it to be pretty much the same size or same thickness the entire way through. That's gonna give you a more consistent cook. Something that you also notice on briskets that you get in the store, on this side, you'll notice sometimes that meat is brown. It's not because the meat is bad, that's because of the hot water that they put on the brisket when they pack it. It's a super hot water. And what I like to do, just run right down the side of it and trim it right off. Make sure you have a sharp knife. That's the most important thing in butchering any meat. And I don't know if you guys make your own sausage or not, but that's perfect for that. All of your fat trimming, except for this heel that I took off, is great for that. Now you notice how thick this fat is right here. I'm gonna trim this down to about 1/8 of an inch, and down here I'm gonna leave it pretty much as it is, about 1/4 of an inch. Let me turn this around so it can work safely, but I'll bring it back so you can see it. Some people will tell you, man, you're cutting all the fat off, all the flavor, all of this, all of that. That is not the truth. I'm gonna cook it about 250 to 275 the entire way. And like I said, on this end of the brisket, you see all that fat in the meat? There's enough fat there to cook the entire way without any fat on top of your point. Depending on who I'm cooking for, sometimes I do trim briskets all the way down on the point to where there's no fat. But this one I'm gonna leave a little bit different. The backyard cook, you wanna leave as much as you can on. It's all about yield. How much you can actually serve in your backyard to be the hero. Any parts that you have that are super thin, go ahead and cut that off. That part is gonna burn. It's gonna cook a lot faster than any other piece, so you're gonna leave your thicker pieces. Now you notice this piece of meat, this piece of fat right here that runs through it, it separates the point and the flat. Sometimes I will go in if it's too much, and I will trim some of that out. I don't really need to do that for a backyard cook like today, but since I'm mentioning it, I'll give you a good show of it. And you can put a pinch on it and get it out just like that. Now I'm working kind of upside down here, but I'm pretty handy with my knife. I've done this a couple, 200-300 times. And what I'm looking for, like I said earlier, is the same size brisket the entire way. Now remember in the beginning I showed you how thin this part was versus this side. This part is gonna dry up because it's gonna cook faster. It's okay to trim that off. A lot of people can say, oh man, you're wasting meat. No, I'm gonna make sausage with my fat trimmings and my meat trimmings. Right now, I'm trimming again this area. So I want to get that down to about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm having my hand underneath the brisket just to kind of guide it. When you trim your briskets, make sure it's cold. Like this one. Of course, if it's warm, the fat is really not really firm. And it's hard to let your knife do what it does. And anybody that's familiar with knives, when a knife can't work, you're likely to get cut, injure yourself in the kitchen, and it's never a good thing. Number one, get blood everywhere. Oh, had a few shout outs. Shout out to my special guest, Taraji P. Henson. She went to the bathroom, she'll be back. Shout out to Rowdy's Barbecue. My man Randy Rawson over there doing the thing. Big Z over there, Big Z's Barbecue. Shouty, Stephen Shaw over at Shouty's Catering. What's up, fellas? I hope. Now, here in Houston today, it's about 25 degrees outside. And am I smoking barbecue? I sure am. I've got 2 more of these to trim, and I'm gonna put them on. But I just wanted to do a quick video and answer a few quick questions about trimming a brisket. That's pretty much it. I've got my thin edge taken off, so all of this is about the same size. Got a little thin spot there, but it came that way, about 1/4 of an inch. It finishes up that way. And I'm gonna come trim a little bit more off of this, because like I said, I like to have about 1/8 of an inch of fat on top of my point, because this meat already has a lot of fat in it. I've cleaned up the bottom a little bit. And this silver skin on the bottom, it's gonna cook away. Now the competition, probably wanna get rid of that, because you never know what bite the judge is gonna take. And they say, hey, that piece was a little bit chewy or this or that, but this is not a competition. Unless one of your neighbors likes to talk that good noise to you. But there you have it.